morning, Gio. How you feeling?
Feeling good.
Good morning, Mr. Baco. How you feeling, sir?
Energized.
Excellent. That's exactly what the bomba was for, man. And we get everybody up, get everybody's blood flowing, catch everybody's attention, plus give everybody a little taste of Puerto Rico. We want to make sure they knew where they were at and they weren't confused. But why don't we start off by introducing yourselves and telling people a little bit about who you are. We'll start off with you, Mr. Baco. Go ahead and give them a little bit of who you are and how you're instrumental to this whole Act 22 development. Go ahead and speak, sir.
Well, I am
You are Alberto
a
Baco.
Puerto Rican that saw a huge opportunity back in 2012, 2013. And right now, I feel that I am among a lot of ambassadors of the new Puerto Rico, the modern Puerto Rico. I saw it and I feel like a little kid in Disney World. It's just happening. So thanks all of you for being in Puerto Rico and to bringing so much entrepreneurship, so much talent. We all will work it together to make this the most exciting place in the world.
Mr. Baco, we want to tell them a little bit about who you are. We appreciate the warm welcome, though. Go ahead and tell them a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself, sir.
So I am a recovering attorney, CPA, and I spend my life as an entrepreneur, buying, selling businesses, doing turnarounds, and have 2 rounds at public service. So roughly 20% of my career have been on the public sector, even though that's where I am more known. When I was 28 years old, I was president of the Economic Development Bank, and at that time we brought venture capital and private equity to Puerto Rico for the first time. Back in 2000, at the end of 2012, I was appointed the Secretary of Economic Development. I had participated, I know it had been mentioned that I was the author of the legislation. The author of the legislation is like Satoshi, which I believe is a team. It was a group of persons, a group of legislators that put together that law based on the Virgin Island laws. So there's nobody that can claim that title. But I can claim a title that from 2013, January, to 2017, I basically made a mission to promote the acts. I introduced a strategy of marketing, promoting this act as a total package. At that point, it was similar to blockchain. Nobody believed in it. They laughed at me. The governor was my boss, and he didn't care about that. He thought Puerto Rico was a manufacturing hub, and I kept promoting export services, and he kept saying that they were manufacturing. He even said that the Lufthansa Technique project that we brought here was a manufacturing project. Really, it's a service. We bring airplanes, we service them, and they go out. So Puerto Rico have changed a lot, and I think that it's in a position of being a leader of what a transformation can happen to an economy. We did it once in the 1950s. Well, we missed the big wave from the 1980s to now of technology, and I think that we are right now in the place to jump a technology and become the leaders of what is the future. So in that, ending of who I am, I decided when I left government to stay involved, and I asked myself what needs to be done, and my answer to myself was we need to create collaboration between the local influencers, the local socially conscious group, to understand, to educate themselves of what is happening. Sometimes they are too busy. I hope more of the local people were taking advantage of these events this week. But I don't look at it as wrong. I think that we all have to educate them. We have to get together And the same thing I tell them, look, we are attracting such talented group. You have to become part of that movement. You have to take the opportunity. So in that, I have become kind of an ambassador. I do everything I can to let people know our next steps.
How about a round of applause for that introduction? That was the best. Mr. Baco, we got to get you to get it a little short. Mr. Baco is the former Secretary of Economic Development of Puerto Rico. He was actually the secretary at the time that after Act 22 was implemented in 2012. It was signed in 2012, and in January of 2013, Mr. Baco was actually the Secretary of Economic Development. He was a very instrumental role in actually pushing this forward and actually making sure that it was something that was actually propagated by the Puerto Rican government. Now, we'll turn it over to you, Gio. Hopefully you got a little bit more practice introduction. Who are you and what do you do, sir?
I just got inspired by Alberto, so I'm going to change mine. No, I'm a tax attorney, local Puerto Rican. When Alberto was Secretary of Economic Development, actually in that shift I was working as a consultant for Hacienda, very junior level. Moved into a firm, again, junior level, working with the tax incentives. Grew within that and stumbled into the blockchain and cryptocurrency space. I found a passion for it from my perspective, which was the legal perspective. That eventually led me to starting my own practice. I currently have my own practice called Global Economic Optimization, Geo.tax. And I think I constantly and more recently want to highlight as it becomes a realization to me, part of that journey is that I see a full staff, which I care for a lot. So I became from junior level employee to an employer with a great team, and it's really part of the effect of these tax incentives. That was the purpose. And in my practice in particular, many of you which are clients and the blockchain space and cryptocurrency space has allowed a lot for that.
Excellent. So I want to start off with a couple of questions with you guys. And as we proceed, we'll basically just ask both your opinions on a couple of things. First and foremost, I want to ask you on the positive side, what do you think Act 22/Act 60, Act 20, as they've been bundled together, what do you think is done right? What do you think are the aspects of this law that are actually correct? And we're proud, we're hanging our hats on this, and we're saying, okay, this is a good thing, they got this right, and this is cool, this is what we like.
Well, what is most visible is the real estate situation in Puerto Rico. You cannot find a property. The prices have gone up. So that's very positive because there were local people that were underwater. They have lost all their fortune. In Puerto Rico, they used to invest everything. The definition of diversification was investing in all the different banks that were public companies. So when they went 10 times down, people lost fortunes. Then they lost what they had invested in bonds, in muni bonds. And all of a sudden, the only asset left were their homes. And they have been able to sell homes and pay all their debts and get a very nice living. So that's very visible, very positive. Positive is that we will see a lot of new construction going on because there's the demand. So in that sense, you see positive things in the economy. There's new concepts on entertainment. The hospitality industry, don't let nobody tell you the wrong thing. We used to be funded by government with guarantees. Now we have real investment that began with John Paulson with this property back in 2013 that is actual money getting into hospitality sector. We are getting top hits on everything around hospitality industry. And that's new. That's new in Puerto Rico. What else I look forward next year? I look forward to see a lot of cranes for construction. I look forward to my dream is that we can provide in Puerto Rico opportunities for all these kids from all social environments that go to study in the best universities in the U.S. and they stay in the mainland. All of them want to come back. but we need to provide opportunities. And one of the best moments is when one of my partners in the development company, a top construction company, he told me the other day, my daughter came back because of what you did back a lot of years ago. And that's what I want to see, our young kids coming back, and that will create a unique force here in Puerto Rico.
Dollar Gio, what you got?
With the programs, I think what has been, or
what has been right?
What has been right? What I was going to say is what's been right is sometimes what's not been right at the same time, and I'll explain real quickly.
That's a real lawyer answer.
Yeah, but and my lawyer answer is going to be the policy making and implementation. I think the programs were right and got it right when decree holders were being offered a grant, a contract with the government. I think that was very important. A set of terms that you would operate under, and certainty. When we compete with the USVI, we have a much better program because of how that policy is set. So that's one thing that's very good. And another thing is how it's adopted when necessary. In 2019, when Act 60 was approved, which joined every act, it included cryptocurrency and blockchain into the description of eligible activities and eligible service. So I think that's something that's been very positive and led to what I think is very important is the knowledge transfer that we have brought to Puerto Rico that eventually leads to job creation and entrepreneurship. So I think those are very important aspects of the program that we've done right.
What do you think has gone wrong? We'll start with you, Mr. Mendez.
I think,
and I want you to tell me this in a multi-layer perspective. From one side would be, the actual legal definitions, and then more importantly, in terms of the, accounting version, right? Like a lot of my friends and a lot of the guys that are in our community are constantly giving me tax questions, and I'm sure you receive tons of them, clarifications on rulings and understandings of the actual letter of the law.
Yeah. So back to policymaking, sometimes, it's been wrong. I think that there have been changes that, the way that they have been implemented or announced or tried to implement are not necessarily the best. And the frequency in which changes have happened, that is something that has not necessarily been positive. Another thing that we've done wrong, or that the programs have gotten wrong, marketing has been very good at points, not so good at other points, and maybe has stressed on when you stress on bringing people here, and potentially during Baco's tenure in the secretary, well, the program was just starting, so there had to be a lot of focus on that. But the effect, the positive effect and the positive impact, it really hasn't been measured, completely, comprehensively with every element that we should be measuring, and then much less promoting and speaking out on the positive impact of the program. So I think those are things that haven't been done so well.
Collection of data and understanding the true impact of the actual Act 22 community?
Collecting the data and reflecting that data, knowing what data we want and need to collect. I think that's, we've had time to learn what that is, tweak, and we should have a lot better data at this point.
I have something to add to that before you go, Mr. Baco. We've done a lot of work in the community. A lot of the people here who know me and familiar with me, I've a variety of times at the time that we've been here over the past almost 4 years already. I've done a lot of work within the community for a variety of causes. Obviously, when we first got here, we did a lot of work with the community throughout the center and the south of the island because of the impact of Hurricane Maria. There's still a lot of places without power, a lot of places without water. We delivered tons and tons and tons of water and generators and food and supplies. And then again, after the earthquake in January 2019, we was definitely present for at a lot of the substations that were set up all throughout the South. I've seen a lot of the people from our community down there not only putting out their wallets for a lot of the supplies, but also putting up their time and effort to go down there. I mean, we set up massage tables for a lot of these older people. A lot of things that we do that we're not looking for credit for and never we're looking for mention for. But unfortunately, those are the kind of metrics that people are just not looking at, not to mention all the charitable drives that we've done. And I know you've donated to some of them that we've actually held throughout our community. And it's something that typically we don't, especially me, one of the things that we do, I'm not looking for anyone to give us a pat on the back for these things, but at the same time, these are the type of impact that our community has done and felt. At times, there is a necessity to highlight these things when people say, what have you done and what are you doing and why are you saying you're helping our people if we don't see any impact for that? So I think there's got to be a better way that we can do these things without looking to have an ego boost, but at the same time, it reflect the impact that we're having on the community.
The thing is that the detractors to the programs, will highlight what they want to highlight, and when you're trying to pose a counter argument, sometimes that information is not there, or groups work in different silos, so there's no way to say, well, toy drive, food drive, or job creation, or educational seminars, and it's all segregated in these silos where you can't just pull that information and say, look, here it is, this is all we've done. So we've done a bad job at saying the positive impact.
That should be a part of, excuse me, Mr. Baco, before you go, that, in my opinion, that should be something that the government should have an avenue to dump that data in, saying, okay, when this isn't, this is your community's type of activity, or you're doing work in community, let's get it submitted, and then they can have some form of verification aspect to it, where the people in the communities that we're saying we're helping can actually verify through some sort of tally. Go ahead, Mr. Baco, we have 2 minutes.
I think that what have gone wrong is that we have permitted this discussion to become binary. So either you are in favor or you're not in favor, and that's not the way. On the other hand, I think that we still have time. We have bought time with the politicians, but we need to be aggressive in getting out the message that this is so important and so a paradigm change to Puerto Rico, and that we cannot leave people that in public life. I learned there are people that will go to every place you talk, and they will never be convinced because they come with an agenda. And we have permitted a small minority that have an agenda to control the discussion of Act 2022. And that group will never change. They have that agenda, and it's a very easy topic to derail the discussion into the wrong direction. I don't know if you have thought that Microsoft in Puerto Rico employs only 150 persons, and they shelter billions of dollars. And nobody talks about that. The whole program of Act 2022, that on my numbers, I think that they can really get income to the local people, a lot more than the pharmaceuticals are getting. But it's not only that, it's that they will employ a lot more people at all levels of the hierarchy. So it's a game changer to Puerto Rico. The pharmaceuticals and the electronics have not been a game changer in that sense. This will change communities. This will change towns. This will change the way we are perceived from the world to Puerto Rico, which we have an awful branding. I'm sure that a lot of you, when you came here, is, wow, this is not what I thought. This is not what the message that it's out there. So we have a lot to do in communication, and we have to get involved. And I don't feel that we have been successful because still the brightest people that are running the newspapers, still they don't understand very well what is going on here. So we need to all get together, you are all ambassadors, and communicate this.
Gio, sum it up for us, man. What can we do better? Sum it up.
No, I think a little segue into that, between Puerto Ricans, we need to educate our within ourselves better. We need to forward the message of the positive impact. I started my professional career in one of these manufacturers, so I was working for Johnson & Johnson, and 40 years of being a manufacturing powerhouse led us to, a lot of employment and good jobs, and they paid well. But now the small business service industry, leads to entrepreneurship, and that's growth. That's a lot of more financial freedom that what we used to be. So we really need to take that message. It would be here locally, your family would be very proud if you say, I landed a job with XYZ Fortune 500. You go tell your mom you're gonna work for a startup. They're like, what are you doing? And they're paying you with what? Tokens? Equity? What's that? And that's how you actually create wealth, but the mentality isn't there yet. So we need to show that and bring that mentality.
Education is important, but I got another one for both you guys. We'll just leave it at that. How about some form of inclusion for the Puerto Rican people? Puerto Rican people themselves. Give me a round of applause for the inclusion for the Puerto Rican people. So the tax benefits, right? And I'm aware that Act 20, you can start an Act 20 company. We're all aware of that up here, right? But ultimately, right, the tax benefits that are afforded to us in our community aren't afforded to the local people, right? And in fact, it's horrible for them because they actually pay some of the higher tax rates in the entire country, right? So for me, in my perspective, I think there should be some sort of adjustment to where the local people have the ability to take advantage of these tax benefits. Obviously, I'm not exactly sure how that could work, but ultimately, I think that would be a key feature, and it also will keep, because, I mean, people blame us. So I'm on both sides, right? Because I'm Puerto Rican, and I'm also part of our community. But at the same time, people blame our community like it's our fault. We get these tax benefits, and they don't.
So the thing is, that's not entirely accurate, right? Because the only benefit that doesn't apply to a specific set of persons that lived in Puerto Rico, outside a window, is the capital gain benefit. And
that's huge in our industry.
The thing is, in the industry, it's huge. But if you pull the numbers for Hacienda, what the local community pays in capital gains, you're going to have 1,000 tax returns that reported capital gain income, and the payment is nominal compared to the whole budget of the island. So one is, yes, I agree we should extend the capital gain benefit to locals as well. But the thing is, we need more locals generating capital gains, and the education for that is not there yet. On the other side, every other incentive that has been included in Act 60, so the old Act 20, Act 273, Act 74, 84, film, every incentive, locals can qualify for that. They just need to have businesses that would qualify for the incentive. So what do we need to do? It's against the education and say, you don't have to go necessarily work for someone. I mean, it's not bad to get a job. It's great if that's what you want to do. But your business that you provide locally, you can provide to the U.S. or the rest of Latin America, whether it's export or whether it's a service business or whether you're a developer. So we really need to broaden the horizon of the island and tell the Puerto Rican, well, the incentive's there for you. Just tap into the other market. And it's pretty much a win-win in that sense.
I think that the government has been penny-wise, pound-foolish in the way they run their tax policies. We can really have Puerto Rico become a low-tax jurisdiction for everyone. It's just being intelligent in the way you do your tax policy. And the way to do it is, in reality, most of the people that is complaining that we are granting people tax exemptions, they don't pay taxes because they are evaders. The rates are so high that there is an incentive for people to evade taxes locally. So they don't pay local taxes and they complain. I think that the intelligent way is to do a 10% across the board taxation for local income. There will be a lot more people filing their real taxes because they will feel it's fair. And then we can create a system that doesn't tax your effort, your work. It taxes the consumption. So there are things that can be done. Not a lot of people discuss this. Not a lot of politicians are willing to bite the bullet. But I think that now that the finances have been reorganized, that we will pay a lot less debt service. It's the time to do it, to change the system and turn around the discussion. No, with all the money that we are collecting, because 4% of worldwide income, it's a lot of money. So we are attracting all these companies that are paying 4% of their worldwide taxes, income. Let's use that money to balance our system and lower to everyone their rates. For me, that's the intelligent way.
Let me get a round of applause for our attorneys up here. Attorneys and accountants, both of them.